Let's talk about why Ukraine is still worth supporting despite all the intellectual cynicism you hear across the internet. This video comes to you as a triangle because it has three sides. My friend Caleb, Korea, and Ukraine. Caleb is American, Korean American. Frankly, I forget he's Korean half the time. But Caleb's family has always had two things: intelligence and the desire, the want for something better in life. Which means many decades ago, Caleb's grandparents were sitting in Seoul, South Korea, looking around and thinking, you know, we're pretty smart. We could do better. So like all great American stories, they moved to California, set up shop, and they did tremendously well. Started a business, raised families, went to church, wrote poetry. They did so well, they had Caleb's parents. And another great all-American story, Caleb's parents met and fell in love at college. But they wanted an even better, bigger American dream. They wanted the small, Midwest, Christian, conservative values American lifestyle. So Caleb's parents moved to a small Midwest Kansas town and became professors. That's where Caleb grew up, a small Kansas town, and he was bright. He did well in school, and his life carried him forward up until he started university, where I met him. Now let me tell you a few things about Caleb. He started the Bitcoin Club in 2011. He invited me to the Bitcoin Club, and it went well. First day, 4 people showed up. Second Bitcoin Club meeting, nobody left, just Caleb and myself. So I said, best of luck, Caleb. And he bought a lot of Bitcoins, and then he gambled them away in 2012. When social media was taking off in the early 2010s, he said, why don't I make a social media parody account of the university's chancellor and the university itself? And he did this so successfully on Twitter and Instagram, which had just launched, that the university sent him cease and desist letters. Caleb thought to himself, let me keep going. Despite the cease and desist letters sent by the university caved and decided to hire Caleb as their first social media manager for the university. From there, he got jobs in Los Angeles and New York, and despite our lives intertwining so frequently, the university loves Caleb so much because he's funny, intelligent, clever, and successful that they're happy to feature him in their alumni pages while totally not acknowledging my existence, which always shows you it pays to be likable rather than a heretic. Now, let me show you a map of Korea from September 14th, 1950. You see this map? This is North Korea, and that's what's left of South Korea. I'll put it up on the screen for you. Things are not looking good. And if you're an American in 1950, what's the right call? Do we help out South Korea? Let me add a few additional details. South Korea is not a democracy. It's led by a quasi-dictator named Syngman Rhee, who is one of the great scumbags of Korean history. They have no real strategic value to the United States. Many Americans can't find Korea on a map in 1950. South Korea's main export is firing squads of political dissidents. Their GDP's economy is 0.00001. North Korea is richer, more educated, more successful than South Korea in 1950s. And North Korea, despite taking already 90% of the entire Korean peninsula, also has backing by the Soviet Union and China. China says, we'll get involved, we'll send you an army if you need. What's the right call? Well, if we had let South Korea cave entirely, it was just one communist North Korea, Caleb would disappear from my life. His parents may have never moved to Kansas and had a great family, an American dream. His grandparents may have never moved to California. Perhaps his grandparents would exist, but they would have been stuck in a communist Seoul, Korea. Seoul would have been soulless. It's a tough call. But instead, the United States and UN backed South Korea. Despite this little tiny dot, the UN, the United States, wagered not on what South Korea was then, which was nothing, but they wagered on what South Korea could be. South Korea is now the 13th largest economy in the world. It manufactures and exports cars, music, culture, politics. That's because the Americans bet on not what South Korea was at the time, but what South Korea could be. Today we find ourselves in 2023, with Ukraine being invaded by Russia, a much bigger economy, bigger military, bigger historic power. Ukraine offers no real strategic value to the United States. The economy, its GDP, is small, negligible. Many Americans cannot find Ukraine on the map. Is Ukraine a democracy? Debatable. Has Ukraine ever really been a democracy? Debatable. But it is being invaded by another sovereign nation against all protocols in the UN. What is the morally correct thing to do? Back and support Ukraine. It may not offer a strategic political interest to us today, but your grandchildren and our grandchildren may thank us for doing the morally right thing 50, 60 years from now. There may be many, many millions of Ukrainian Calebs that can enrich your grandchildren's life, my grandchildren's life. Ukraine isn't Argentina, that despite its bountiful geography, endless rivers, can't get itself together. Ukraine isn't Argentina. Ukraine is a nascent, fledgling, democratic, working its way out through the shell under the yoke of the Soviet Union. It's trying hard. Give Ukraine 40, 50, 60 years, and Ukraine could be the next South Korea. Let me submit to you the way we should be thinking about the Ukraine-Russian war is not what strategic value Ukraine can offer us today, but what Ukraine can be in the future. What are its possible hopes? You know, with Ukraine and Korea, my friend Caleb, it makes me think about this phrase by Joan Didion a lot. It sticks in my mind that when you cut your losses, you also have to cut your hopes, which makes sense. It's why people hold on to relationships so much. Even though relationships can be painful and turbulent, they have so much hope for that relationship. So they don't want to cut the loss, because when you cut the loss, you cut your hopes. But to cut our losses in Ukraine is so negligible, so small. It won't hurt us very much at all, whether it's to sustain or to leave Ukraine. But if we cut our losses on Ukraine, we cut all our hopes. And Ukraine has a lot of hope. It has a lot of upside. My friends, my viewers, I hope you can imagine Ukraine, Korea, my friend Caleb, and the future possibilities complexly. And think not what Ukraine can offer us today, but what Ukraine can be in the future. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video interesting. If you like, subscribe, like the video. If you agree with me, like the video. If you disagree with me, like the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.